horror fans, and welcome to another episode of Silver Screams. Tonight we are talking to you about Scream Season 2, Episode 5. Holy shit!
Slowly but surely we're getting there, you guys. We're working on it.
Yeah, but
we're a little
so long.
We're a little busy.
A little busy.
Super busy.
And there are also other shows we need to start covering as we've been discussing, and
our September slate is gonna swing back in it after.
It's gonna get real busy real quick.
We've just had really busy social lives, you guys. Which is actually true.
Well, it's a combination of busy production schedules, busy work schedules, busy AfterBuzz schedules, and then actually busy wanting to see friends in between all that as well. Yeah. So we're making our way slowly but surely through this season of Scream. But holy shit, this episode was so good. Okay, so it's total bullshit that they lock up all the students in this scenario, and that there are a total of 4 cops in the entire Lakewood police department that are on the scene.
I have to frame this with, I work at a high school. Admittedly, it's a private high school, so we do have our own security on ground, so that doesn't quite apply here.
Even public schools have their own security nowadays.
Yeah, they do, and the police, I don't know how long police take to respond. It depends on where you are, whether there's a station close to you, etc., etc. But when we wind up with fire drills or the fire alarm pulled, 7 minutes or less is how long it takes the fire department to show up. So for this, I would imagine that there's a dead body in the middle of the school that fell out of the ceiling during a presentation. Presentation's not the right word. Assembly is a better word.
Right, yeah.
You would have not only cops from the local station, you would be pulling cops from all over the damn city and possibly other cities just to try to do some crowd control. And again, I'm not sure how a murder investigation works, but if a student is not of interest, you send them home. This is a state of emergency. A lot of this was just bullshit. And leaving the students in there unsupervised by teachers is a huge thing. You always have the teachers stay with their classes and keep their classes accounted for. You bring them someplace, you keep them together by class, and you take attendance when you get there to make sure no one's missing. Yeah. Also, you cannot lock anyone into a room. You can't, because doors are all designed to be unlocked from the inside. You can lock it from the outside so no one can get in, but if someone is in there, it has to be able to open in case of a fire, in case of an earthquake, in case of some other disaster or emergency that requires an evacuation. So I'm just gonna lock her in my office. No, your office unlocks from the inside for your safety.
Yeah,
so you can lock the office so no one can get in from the outside, but you cannot lock her in.
Yeah, especially in an era where everybody is sensitive to the idea of active shooters in schools. Of course, that makes no sense to have a door that, you can lock somebody in from the outside.
They can get out in a hot second. All they have to do is turn the handle.
That makes very little sense.
And I have done enough of this summer when no one's there, but my department is still working and we have to get computers and stuff out of classrooms. You need your key to get in. You do not need your key to get out. I have tested this theory more than once and gotten locked out of the building more than once.
That being said,
this is fiction and everyone's stupid.
As much of that bullshit that they skirt around in the episode for the sake of drama and narrative convenience, this was still a really good episode.
Oh my god, it was a great episode. It's always the little things that murder my suspension of disbelief. And here it was, let's just lock them in. No, you're idiots.
Again,
it's always the little things. The big things here were awesome.
That being said, if you ignore the little things like that, this was a really great episode in terms of having everybody in the school in this claustrophobic little setting after a dead body literally dropped from the ceiling, like Carrie, Phantom of the Opera style. Instead of dropping the chandelier, dropped a dead body. But
you didn't need this. Well, the Phantom did drop a dead body. It was just on the news.
Yeah, I mean, he had the courtesy to, make sure that was easily cleaned up.
Just want to
ruin the theater, Katie.
I live here.
I like the shows that are put on. But
provided they meet my specifications.
But again, so we're three main suspects, I think, right now. Let's go ahead and add four. We've got Haley Myers, which nice last name, chick, who is constantly talking about how the Lakewood Six get all this privilege, that the rules don't apply to them. You know, we got the fact that she pulled that horrible prank on Audrey at the very beginning of the season. I almost called her Bex, and I was like, I almost called her by the actress's name. But we pulled this horrible trick on her at the beginning of the season.
Which constantly I'm still not over. What the fuck?
Yeah, and is constantly trying to start shit with them, as we see in this episode. But then we also have Gustavo, the sheriff's son, who the sheriff seems to be doing everything in his power to divert suspicion away from his son onto other people, even if it doesn't make sense, you know, for those people. And, you know, taking Emma's mom off the case because she's too close to it, even though my son has a ghost face mask. It's fine. No. It's fine.
There gets to be a point where you have to sit there and go, am I actively allowing a murderer to continue killing people? There gets a point where you have to wonder. Even if it is about your own kid. Hard truths are hard truths.
I'm sure it's one of those things where if it is his son, he's in like super denial about it.
He's in Egypt at this point.
In his mind, he's just like, my son is a troubled kid. I just can't let anybody else find out about this because it's, you know, he didn't do anything. He's just a troubled kid. I'm sure that's how it's working in his mind. Okay, so that's two. Number three, Kieran's cousin, whose name constantly escapes me, but
asshole.
He's just a dick. He's just a dick. And then, of course, number four,
he wasn't egregious this episode.
He was. He's constantly spying on them.
Well, that was okay.
Telling him
more
you
so
can
than
trust
the usual
me.
fuckery.
Give me Jake's phone. I'll get rid of it for you. I'll do a better job than you. Trust me. You can't trust the cops, but you can trust me.
Okay, Ka.
Trust in me. But yeah, no, this guy has fucking creeper written all over him. Is constantly
One
invading.
man's creeper is another man's, I was going to say stalker.
Creeper! No, like, he's constantly invading her privacy. He's constantly trying to undermine his cousin in this regard. And he's constantly shoving his nose in other people's business. And he's constantly trying to make Emma believe that she can't trust anybody else except him. That he's the only one on her side.
Awful.
He's awful. And even if he's not the murderer in this case, none of those are good things.
Yeah, he needs to not be taking away her support network.
Yeah, no, and
despite the fact that her support network is kind of falling apart.
This is the main reason why I suspect him, is I don't think he wants Emma dead. I'm pretty sure he likes
here's
her.
the thing. If Kieran goes under, his living situation goes under as well. Because they're there living in that house under the guise that they are taking care of Kieran. If Kieran dies,
that only applies to him for the next couple years. You know, theoretically, he's going off to college or whatever. Again, it only applies to him for as long as he's under his mother's roof.
That's true.
Does not apply to him in any other situation.
But it will apply to him for at least the end of this year.
And the only reason he was a big proponent of them staying is because there wasn't a whole lot for him back there, but he was also super intrigued by Emma. Yeah. It was his obsession with her that made him go, hey, Mom, we should stay.
But what I'm saying is they need Kieran alive for that to work.
Well, and I'm not saying that he's specifically looking to murder Kieran, just steal his girlfriend. But like I said,
I'm saying as Ghostface, if you're going after the Lakewood Six with Emma as the last one, it doesn't make sense for him to take out Kieran because as much as he's being an asshole about it, he needs him.
He might not be looking to take out all of the Lakewood Six. He might just be looking to take out as many of them as it takes for him to get what he wants.
To love him.
Anyway, number 4 is the professor, the teacher, the psych teacher who locked her in And this is where the suspicion for her falls in this episode, because not only is she doing a shit job of supervising people, saying, Brooke, you can talk to me, it's totally fine. At least she gave Brooke and her dad some privacy. Like, at least she's not that horrid. And there was more than one occasion where I'm like, if you weren't such a bitch, I would think you were a pretty great person.
But you've already fucked up by recording conversations that you shouldn't have been. Yeah. Or without permission.
You're a monster. That's the big thing. You're an opportunistic monster. And this is where the suspicion for her comes into play, because right after she locks Emma in that room, which BTW, great set design here with the red blinds, the black door, and the red sofa with the black pillows. Like, great set design there. But then Ghostface...
Still pissed off about locking her in there.
Yeah.
You physically should not have been able to do that.
Ghostface calls her, and then Ghostface shows up right outside the window. Emma breaks her way out. Very Scream 2, by the way. But breaks her way out, and Ghostface disappears. When they start questioning her about it, you can tell from the look on the teacher's face that she knows Emma isn't telling her the truth when she just says, I had a panic attack. It's fine, guys. It's totally fine. You can tell she doesn't believe it. And that could just be her having a feeling that something's wrong. Or it could be, no, I know there was something there because I specifically locked you in there to see what would happen.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to do some immersion therapy. That is not how immersion therapy works.
Like at all.
That is not how immersion therapy works.
I'm starting to think this psych teacher is a hack.
This school needs a better screening process for
This
hiring.
whole goddamn town is a mess. They have, like I said, they have a teeny tiny police department that can't get their shit together enough to know how to properly evacuate a school in an emergency situation. Fuck you, Lakewood.
Well, they also say in terms of an active shooter, you have a better chance of surviving if you run, as opposed to locking down. Like I said, I work at a school. I hear things.
But anyway, so the...
Optimism.
2016's been rough, guys.
Yeah, very much so. Also, this fictional school is just full of shit.
It is, but that does actually bring up Kieran having a gun. Like when they realize that they're searching lockers without consent or permission or a permit.
Because for some reason, when they take the girl whose name Myers, the girl who
Haley Myers,
Haley, that awful human being, when they take her for questioning, they let her be on her phone talking with, I guess,
someone.
I'm assuming it is
her
partner in
prankster,
crime,
yeah,
who is locked in the room with everyone else, and she's the one that says, "Yeah, it looks like they're searching everyone's lockers," and that's how the word gets back. Tense agreement to all of the students who are locked in that the police are starting to search lockers, which you need a warrant for that. You really do need a warrant.
Now, it'd be one thing if it was like a bomb threat. Because I feel like under the case of a bomb threat, then yeah, you do have permission. Just search fucking everything.
Yeah, but this is a murder, and this is everyone's locker in the entire school. Which one? That's not feasible. Do you know how many lockers are in a fucking high school? So many lockers, and then you have to get the master key, and you have to get them all open, and you have to find out, okay, this one has something suspicious. Whose locker is this? So you need the master list of who's assigned to what. And again, I work at a school. This is really stupid. You don't search everyone's locker. You get the warrant.
We've already said at the top of the episode that there was some stupid stuff. Point being, get out. Stop throwing
realism. You invited me here.
Stop throwing realism into this. To this review. Get your reality out of my fantasy.
Out of my TV. Where it belongs.
Point being, Kieran had something in his locker that he would rather the cops didn't find. So he and Noah escape from the room, and he sadly gets caught. And that means Noah is caught on his way back, trying to avoid the cops. He's been put in a rock and a hard place because he can't make a break for it because the quote-unquote cops are everywhere, even though there are like 4 of them. The cops are all over the place.
It's like a Metal Gear game where there's not a lot of security, but there's also not a lot of cover. And so you really have to figure your strategy
You really
out.
needed a box.
He did.
Noah?
Exclamation point.
Noah! Snake! But I really liked it. I mean, it was a great dynamic though, because he can see things outside the room where everybody else who's stuck in there can't see, but he can't see Gustavo making weird gestures at Audrey, you know, with her freaking out. And he also can't see. He can tell when Kieran and the sheriff are coming back, but he doesn't know, you know, why Emma's going out. You know, he didn't know what happened in the room with Emma having to hand over Jake's phone in front of everybody. And
which was seriously, holy cow, you call her in for questioning and then you say, hey, do you have the thing? You make a scene like that, you've painted a target on her. Just, my God, I don't think he knows what he's doing.
I feel like he does. I feel like he does. I feel like he knows exactly what he's doing, and he just doesn't care, or it's all by design. Because clearly there's some other and clearly, obviously, the mayor also has something over his head, because the mayor wouldn't be able to prompt him to put things at a certain priority without having something over him. And we've had this talk before too. So as much as he had this nice guy, and Kieran even points this out, as much as he had this nice guy act at the beginning of the season, this guy is not, you know, his hands are not clean. He is just as guilty, probably, of wrongdoing as everybody else in this show.
So we have a murder mystery going on, but we don't have a good infrastructure in place to clean it up.
Yeah,
and that's part of the problem.
Exactly, and so you know, even though she's saying it for very selfish reasons, Audrey's absolutely right. You cannot trust the cops in this scenario.
Nope.
And it's so funny because I think that I feel like even if her guilt wasn't, you know, very implicit at this point, I feel like she would still think the same thing, because the sheriff is Gustavo's father. And even if Audrey wasn't involved with Piper in any capacity in season 1, because again, we don't know the extent, and we don't, and you can definitely tell that Jake's death is wearing on her, because at one point she's like, I should have said something. What? Are you okay? But like, you can tell it's totally wearing on her, but she feels like she doesn't have a choice. So even if like she wasn't feeling all of those feelings, I feel like just the sheriff would be under suspicion just because he's Gustavo's dad and there's that connection there.
Yeah.
In the same way that we were real suspicious of Kieran in season 1 for being kind of weird and standoffish, and also being the son of the sheriff. You know, so...
But Kieran wasn't drawing dead classmates.
No, he wasn't drawing decapitated classmates or anything like that. And so when, granted, Audrey didn't go about it necessarily in the right way.
Oh no.
But
she incited a riot.
But like at the same time, if you saw somebody draw a like, granted, he's a great artist, but draw a decapitated version of your friend that you had been making out with the previous night, and had seen him in earlier things draw Kieran in a pool of blood and draw Emma covered in
knives
blood.
In her head.
Yeah, no. And he's like, how dare you suspect me of doing this really shady thing?
The thing is, you don't bring your RPF fic to school. You don't. And it's one of those, it's hard. It's easier to hide text than it is to hide art. If you've just got text on a screen, someone really has to be looking in order for them to figure out what you're reading or what you're writing. It is not easy to hide art at a glance. People can just, and you're done. It's very easy to take in a picture very quickly. You have something to say.
I was going to say, are you telling Gustavo that he needs to, instead of doing this particular hobby, switch over to erotic friend fiction?
Maybe.
Where everybody's touching everybody else's butts.
Whatever your kink is, whatever you're into, there's a time and a place. And when you are living in a town and you're with the people that this awful, awful thing happened to, even if you have those fantasies, even if you're writing your RPF or drawing your RPF or doing your comic based on real life or whatever, even if it is an expression of your creativity, there are some places you should not express it. If you are a Hetalia cosplayer, you should not be taking pictures in front of the Holocaust Museum. This is a thing that happened, you guys, and it really shouldn't have. And if you're living in a town where these murders occurred and tensions are very high, you should maybe not bring that art to school.
Yeah, keep your self-insert fanfic to yourself.
And you should not even just keep it to yourself. He obviously wasn't going around showing it to people, but don't do it in public. Don't do it in a place where people can see it and will obviously be upset by it, with or without context. And
I don't know. If maybe somebody's giving you a little bit of a dirty glare after someone was clearly murdered in front of you, maybe don't do this.
Yeah, I just... What? It's entirely possible...
What's your deal, Gustavo?
It's entirely possible that he is extremely poorly socialized in one aspect or another. And that... It's not he doesn't understand what he's doing is wrong. It's that he's not reacting correctly to social signals, that he's not interpreting.
Like he's got Asperger's or something?
I don't know. But what it's doing is it's starting to create this character that is very creepy and very suspicious, and quite possibly a very huge red herring. We won't know for a good chunk of time. But the point is, if you're going to do something that you know is going to upset other people if they find out about it, don't even put it in the proximity of that. And I've been in fan communities and I've talked with people, and it's just, you really need to understand the situation that you're in. So even if it's a fantasy, it's a comic, it's not real, you still shouldn't be bringing it to school around the people that you're drawing dead. Like
you can't have this break with reality, guys.
You really shouldn't be doing that. Oh my God.
I love me some horror movies, and I got real disappointed when I was at a bar and they decided to change it from Jason Goes to Hell. I got real upset. I was like, well, time for me to go. But like...
That was not the reason.
That was not the reason. No.
I was at the same party.
But seriously, like, I'm not gonna be like drawing weird, horrible, graphic things on my whiteboard and being like, it's art, guys, it's just a fantasy. Chill out, I'm not a sociopath.
Because I live here too, and I look at that whiteboard and that's pretty fucked up.
I'm not gonna be doing that, but yeah, I think mainly, I feel like this whole sheriff, the sheriff is guilty of something, but I feel like this whole sheriff Gustavo thing is a red herring, and that's mainly because I'm more suspicious of Kieran's cousin than I am of anybody else in the scenario. I'm more suspicious of him than I am of Haley and the professor. That's not to say that maybe some of them aren't working together right now.
Well, and for me, Gustavo at this point, he's too obvious.
One could say the same thing about Kieran's cousin, though.
Yeah, he's got this fan comic about the Six, and he's showing all these people being murdered, and he has a ghost face thing. I'm like, I've seen this before. This is a fan that has lost touch with reality. Like, I've seen this in other people about other things. This is a fan that doesn't understand where the line is. And in this particular context, yeah, he could well have become a ghost face and be deceived about what he's doing or know full well what he's doing. I don't know. I don't know. There's ways to suss out this motivation either way.
There is still a number of variables at play, yeah.
And a lot of information that we still don't have at this point. But right now, just from what I've seen, from what he's been saying, either it's a terrible excuse or he's just someone who's gone way too far in his fandom and hasn't really come out the other side yet. And Dad hiding it instead of talking to him or trying to get him help isn't helping the matter.
Nope.
Because this is not a good thing, even if it's an expression of your artistic whatever, or it's
He's
a fan
clearly
something.
got some issues he needs to work through.
And this is not the time or place to be doing it, and he doesn't seem to understand that.
No. And so again, Sheriff clearly has something else to hide too. And there are two other things we need to touch on before we wrap this up, and that's one of them is Brooke. Because we were talking about this before we went on camera, and I know we've said it on camera before. At the beginning of this series, I never thought I would feel as sorry for Brooke as I feel for her now.
Right?
If she dies before the season's out, I'm gonna feel real bad.
Like, we couldn't wait for her to die in season 1. Like,
I was like, please kill her. I'm like, you killed Riley, but you spared Brooke?
Yeah.
Boo show!
Like, the first half of season 1, it was just like, please, for the love of God, get rid of her. And then it was like, oh. And then it was like, oh. And now it's like, oh.
And she's a firm believer that Mr. Branson is the one that's responsible for murdering Jake. And you can sort of also see as she's getting more information that, you know, she thinks Audrey is right when she hears that Jake's been dead for at least 2 to 3 days. And that, yeah, because that means she's been texting with somebody who isn't Jake. Which, again, I know we kind of touched on it already, the fact that whoever this was, or whoever had possession of Jake's phone, planted it in Emma's backpack sometime between
last night
and
now.
Today. Real upsetting.
Yikes.
But, which, by the way, again, great. It was a great scene with Audrey texting the murderer, "You're going to burn in hell for this," and then the phone buzzing. And then the phone buzzing in Emma's backpack, going, "Huh, that's weird."
I'm looking at this and going, no one really keeps very good track of their bags, do they? Like, no one. Kieran left his in his locker, even though it had the gun in it, and he really should be keeping an eye on that. Audrey left hers on the table. Just like, it's plot points that these people are really bad at keeping track of their personal property.
Well, how else are we supposed to find out information for the narrative and move the story
Everyone's stupid.
But,
everyone is stupid.
Brooke, oh my god, like, her, you can just see it, like, really good performance, first and foremost, because you can just see it. Now that she knows that Jake is dead, nothing matters anymore. Like, when she's being interrogated, she just says, yeah, we broke into the school, we were gonna have sex. Like, it doesn't matter anymore, he's gone. And, you know, like, and the cop is like, well, you trespassed. Okay, it's like, she doesn't... But it's not even registering with her because she doesn't care.
Well, and there's no way he would have made that trespassing charge stick with Dad sitting right there.
Yeah, exactly.
His dad insisted on being present for this, which I guess legal guardian?
To be fair,
but also,
yeah, I mean...
no one else's legal guardian got to be present, and that's fucked up.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, I would say absolutely make your legal guardian definitely present. That's definitely true. But as we come to find out, and as the sheriff comes to find out, by getting Jake's thumbprint, I guess, on the phone. I guess it was one of those ones, because how else otherwise did you need the... which is the real reason why he sent the coroner away. But yeah, looking through Jake's phone to see him texting with Brooke's dad, it's like, Brooke's
okay. Dad saying, I have a job for you, come out here, do this. Like, it's for Brooke, I'd do anything for her.
And again, Brooke's dad definitely stashed a dead body in the previous season.
And just the comment about, yeah, falling from the rafters isn't something you would do. Now, you know, in a freezer, that's more your style.
She's like, whoo! Even if this guy has something over you, that was real salty.
That really was. Dang.
But yeah, normally I'd say having a legal guardian present is the only thing that makes sense. But given that this guy is a suspect, clearly has something over on the sheriff himself, none of this is okay. Like, absolutely none of it.
I'm pretty sure everyone's legal guardian should have been present. Like,
100%. But nope, they kept the parents outside. They're like, nope.
I feel like there was so much here that was handled so poorly.
By the way,
illegally.
Yeah, none of this seemed legal. But yeah, just having the mayor stride in while all the other parents are screaming like, what the hell? all. We want our kids. They could be dead in there.
They got real close to inciting a riot. And then the kids did incite a riot. Like,
yep.
So Gustavo got curb stomped, and I'm surprised that he was able to walk away with what seemed like nothing more than a bloody nose, because he really should have been checked out for broken ribs and
concussion,
ruptured spleen, and you know, internal damage. Bleeding internal, and that's what it's supposed to say.
Injuries. What's that chopper? Band-Aids fix everything? Fix everything. But the other thing to touch on is you mentioned it with people one other thing on Brooke, just that final scene with her in the cheerleader outfit and like walking to the pool where she last saw Jake and just submerging herself and screaming. So well done.
They didn't have any other clothes that would fit her. Nobody had any spares. They were in the gym and they didn't have her gym clothes.
Yeah, just give her PE clothes.
Guys,
her PE clothes should suffice, but I don't know, maybe they had that area blocked off or something.
Well, and I feel like Brooke is the kind of person who keeps a change of clothes in her car just in case. Or in her locker just in case.
Well,
if something gets spilled on, if something doesn't match, if something...
if it was her car, nobody had access to her car because that would have required leaving the school.
True,
you could have asked a cop.
You give your keys to the officer and say, it's parked in this spot, it's this, the clothes are here. Like, the police can do
these
that.
keys have blood on them. Oh, it's evidence. You monsters.
She's photographing the blood spatter on her.
I'm so sorry.
Evidence.
Click, click, click.
Oh
I'm
my
sorry.
God.
Click. You're doing great.
How is blood spatter on the victim evidence when the body fell from the ceiling? Like, and the body has obviously been dead for a couple days.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of this was very suspect forensics.
I feel like someone just didn't do their research before the script got approved.
Know. And I'm not an expert. I should ask. I know a few people who are cops. Maybe I should just ask one of them. Like, what would you do in this scenario?
Show them this episode and have them cinema sins it for cops.
I feel like if you did that for literally anything, whether it's a TV show or a movie or whatever, like, that poor person's just never going to be able to watch movies again.
Well, again, I had issues with this just from the working at a school perspective.
Yeah. I can't imagine actually being a cop and having to watch, like, a cop movie. Just like,
you turn it off at some point. You realize that it's just going to be hilarious, and you just fucking turn it off.
But anyway, so again, stuff with Brooke, really well done, and finding out that Jake and her dad were working together as opposed to, although granted, Jake might have been set up by Brooke's dad.
That's
he
true.
might be
in league
with whoever is doing this. Although granted, that the sheriff made a good point that if it couldn't have been Jake's, or Brooke's dad that did the deed because he'd never do that to his daughter. But that's not to say that he didn't set Jake up to die and that this whole thing has just spiraled out of control.
It's the law of unintended consequences.
Or he was just asking Jake to do something shady because everybody knows Jake was a shady guy and did a lot of shady things and probably didn't deserve Brooke. Just saying. That being said, she still loved him. So poor thing. Poor thing. And he definitely didn't deserve to be cut in half with a scythe.
God, no. What the fuck?
So yeah, the final thing is that Noah finally knows that Audrey has not been 100% honest with him.
Because she left her bag and her phone out.
I really appreciated that he was making a conscious effort with Zoe in this episode, and you could see him trying to unload that, and then immediately trying to talk to Audrey and having her put up that wall. And he was like, I was just, giving full disclosure to this other person. You and I are closer than that. Doesn't that feel wrong? And to the point where he feels the need to steal her phone because he feels like she's lying to him about this person who was sending her prank text calls. I don't know. Whatever. I meant what I said,
Why would you keep it on your phone? You can delete messages so easily. Why would you keep that?
I feel like the better thing would have just been to wipe your phone entirely. And
well, that's overkill, and that's suspicious. But you can delete individual messages. You can delete entire conversations with
I was going to say overkill. I mean, don't forget, a couple episodes ago, she was getting ready to bash Noah in the head.
That's very true.
I was going to say, so wiping her phone would have been less suspicious.
Not really, because when you show up and you're like, oh yeah, my phone's wiped, that's something that draws attention, but...
Well, you wipe it and then you start putting new stuff on it.
No, I mean, you can delete an individual conversation. It's not like she downloaded and saved that GIF of her.
Maybe she did. Maybe she's like, maybe I can tweet this out later.
Someone made a GIF of my face.
I know, I get excited whenever that happens.
Yeah, but as far as I know, you haven't murdered anyone. Yeah. So...
You know too much!
The cat was on the couch and we just scared her right off.
She knows too much too. I will have to pet her.
She doesn't pet her. The cat doesn't.
Anyway, so this episode, really good stuff, and we established that
stupid people.
Yeah, we established that Emma's no longer really trusting any authority figure. The authority figure's entrusted.
I know that you think what you said is true. I'm like, way to gaslight.
Super
good job.
Holy shit. Yeah.
You should not be on this case anymore, friend.
Yeah.
No.
We know that the authority figures in question are not the good guys in this scenario.
Compromised at best, corrupt at worst.
Yep, both those things. And that there is enough going on here to, again, continue suspecting everybody, even if it is just one or two of these people who are doing things. We can also see that all of those suspects very much like have their own agenda set. So even if they're not the killer, they are definitely acting as antagonists. Yes. And I really appreciate that because yeah, they might not be the killer, but they're also working against our protagonist. And I really appreciate that because it's extra conflict and it doesn't feel like padding.
Yeah. Can't wait till we can knock one of them off the list.
Oh yeah, it's because the suspense is killing me.
Someone's gonna wind up with a knife in their head.
The suspense is killing me.
I mean, I will feel really bad if it's Gustavo after this whole fanfic thing, but I just there'd be something awful but really interesting about, oh, you want to be me, or oh, you want to be with the Lakewood Six, or just something about you're obsessed with this. Now you're living it.
Isn't this what you wanted?
Yeah.
Didn't you want to be a part of this?
It would be really good, but also really awful.
Like I said, I don't think it's him. I still think that Kieran's cousin is definitely the one. But again, like you said, it's too obvious for it to be Gustavo. It might be too obvious for it to be him, too.
It's too obvious for everyone in this.
It really is. But that's what makes it good. Communism is just a red herring. So many red herrings in the show.
And monkey's brains, while popular in Cantonese cuisine.
So we want to know, guys.
What's your favorite clue quote?
I was thinking, that's always a good question, but I was thinking, what's your favorite murder mystery? Because this whole episode was a locked room murder mystery. So what is your favorite murder mystery? Leave them in the comments below.
And I want to know your best or worst fan experience. Because obviously that's what's going on with Gustavo. Have you seen something really great happen, an interaction between a celebrity or a creator and a fan? Have you seen someone where you just kind of cringe and walk away because, oh God, I'm so sorry. Everyone's got some of those. Some fandoms have more than others. Some fandoms very obviously have more than others. I mean, one of the storyboard artists...
Some fandoms have problem children.
One of the storyboard artists for Steven Universe got driven off of Twitter the other day because people were giving her unending grief about something that was only tangentially related to what was happening. So, yeah.
I didn't hear about that.
Oh, that's awful. People get stupid about their shit sometimes. So, again, the disconnect from reality. So, fan experience.
Get it together, children. God. Just start your own YouTube channel like us.
Yeah, that makes it better. We are all totally connected to reality.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning in and for bearing with us as we work to get caught up. Katie, where can people go if they want to find you?
We fell behind, and it's so much harder to catch up at that point. We were busy in July, you guys.
Real busy.
You can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Kiaxet. That's Kiaxet. YouTube is where the reaction videos live, if you want to see us laughing at things.
And I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin. That's TheMenguin. Be sure to follow Silver Screams at Silver_Screams on Twitter and Instagram. Like us on Facebook. All that fun stuff. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next time.